Hello and welcome to Talk to Al Jazeera. Pakistan's foreign minister has been making a tour of Gulf countries, trying to get together as much political and financial support as he can as his country tries to deal with the terrible rains that there have been and the worst floods there have been in Pakistan in almost 100 years. Thousands of towns and villages are still underwater, millions of acres of farmland have been reduced to mud, and people desperate as their homes and livelihoods have literally been washed away. Official numbers have the death toll at over 1,600, and as many as 17 million people have been affected. But the real extent of the destruction is so severe, there are still large areas that emergency teams just haven't been able to get to. Well, the floods may also have exposed Pakistan's security vulnerabilities as people see their government unable in some ways to tackle the massive problems caused by the floods in the country. And this, as the government's under increasing pressure from the West and neighbouring Afghanistan to tackle the Taliban inside Pakistan's border. I had a chance to sit down and talk to Shah Mehmood Qureshi, Pakistan's foreign minister. Foreign Minister, welcome to Talk to Al Jazeera. As your country faces possibly the worst natural disaster that's been seen anywhere in the world in many, many years. Tell me why you think the response was so slow.
I don't think they realized the seriousness of the flood, because you have floods and you have floods on a regular basis. So flood, unlike a tsunami or unlike an earthquake, doesn't seek your attention immediately because the casualties are not very high. For example, in 2005, we had the disastrous earthquake, and in minutes we had 80,000 people dead. So how can you miss that? How can you ignore that? Flood is, I think, very aptly put by the Secretary General of the UN. It is what he saw in Pakistan. He described it as tsunami in slow motion.
Well, you talk about the way in which things can be done. Give us an idea of how you hope to put that in together, phases 1, 2 and 3.
Phase 1 is rescue, because there were many people that were marooned. There were many people who had become inaccessible because bridges were washed away, roads were submerged, and the only way to access them was through helicopters. So bring them, pick them up, take them to safety. That was priority 1. Stage 2 is early recovery, restoring the services that were disrupted. Water supplies were disrupted, electricity was disrupted, agriculture was hit in a bad way. So once they go back, they will have to get back into planting their fields. And we will have to provide cash assistance. We have to provide them with seed, with fertilizer and other such needs so that their livelihoods are restored. Then the third priority is reconstruction of the infrastructure that was lost in the floods.
So where is the country now in terms of the response, the way that people are managing out there, and what you plan to do?
I think the country is out of the initial shock. I think today all government institutions, civil society, NGOs, national NGOs are sort of focused on helping the people. We have put together a plan in consultations with the UN agencies based in Pakistan, a 3-phased plan of rescue, rehabilitation, early recovery, and then rescue and relief, early recovery, and then rehabilitation and reconstruction.
But how bad is it? I mean, I've seen the pictures on the news. I've spoken to so many people there.
It is bad. When 1/5 of your country is underwater, when you have scenes on television and you see people leaving their homes, this is perhaps the largest displacement we've had since 1947, when we came into being. So this is bad. When you see people sort of sitting under the open sky, shelterless, when you have to provide sort of food and cooked food to 20 million people, it isn't easy.
When you come to a country such as Qatar, and I know you've been to Oman, Saudi Arabia, but you're planning to go to European countries as well, and you say to them, this is the help we need, what can you do? What general response are you getting? That Pakistan needs to take this on the condition that the money doesn't disappear into somebody else's pocket, on the condition that it clamps down on security lapses, or is it unconditional?
I don't think there are any conditions that are being imposed on Pakistan, but obviously people who are contributing would want money to be well spent, and transparency is what people would want to see, and that is what we require. And the government of Pakistan will ensure an accountable, transparent system.
How can you ensure it when your country is listed as one of the most corrupt in the world?
Every society, you can find corruption in any society, anywhere in the world. We have to put into place mechanisms that will guard against it, checks and balances.
But if you don't mind me interrupting, you say we will have to put into place. That presupposes they're not there at the moment.
No, they are there, but what we want to do is we want international endorsement of what we are doing, so that there is confidence. We are consulting our friends and people who are helping us that this is what we want to do. Are you comfortable with it? And the idea is to learn from their international experience and replicate that in Pakistan.
So you need to get their approval about how you spend the money?
Not their approval, but their, I would say, in a way, they have to be more what's the right word?
Just comfortable, just happy.
They're more comfortable. You have to make them comfortable.
Because their concern is that the money will go to the wrong places, to the wrong people, correct?
Well, you see, I think they have seen us respond on two specific issues which are people-centric. One is the displacement that took place when we had operations in Swat. And I think the confidence in the government, the democratic elected government, went up, because something like 2 million people were displaced and they were sent back within 10 weeks, and the disbursement and the relief was provided in a fairly satisfactory manner.
Allow me to bring you back to the point, if you don't mind, Foreign Minister. The point was, they are concerned, are they not, that the money will not be going to the right places? Otherwise they wouldn't be saying, show us how you're spending.
It's not they are concerned. Everybody should be concerned. I'm concerned. I'm concerned because I would want that money to be well spent, as a Pakistani, as an ordinary citizen. So it is not just their concern. Every Pakistani would want that money to be well spent. Mind you, it's not just international assistance that we're talking about. We're also talking about national resources that we've mobilized. We are going to reprioritize. We are going to cut down on our development. We are going to refocus. So that money, has to be well spent under a designed program.
So what programs are going to suffer? I mean, obviously you have a priority. It is making sure that people get homes, that children can get back to school. Where are you going to have to make cuts? Will it be in terms of security, perhaps?
No. What we intend to do is, at this stage, at this initial stage, we have decided to carry on with the ongoing projects, but not start new projects that had been listed for this year's annual development program.
Are you talking about perhaps water projects, electricity projects, the sort of things that Mrs. Clinton, when she was with you and offering money, said this was where the money should be spent?
Well, we'll have to look at projects that are lower on the priority list. Obviously, water projects are important because, waterborne diseases are important and they have to be addressed. Electricity projects are important because we are suffering from a huge energy crisis and we need to bridge the gap between the demand and supply. So these are important. But there are projects like, for example, if we were building a new stadium, if we were building a new theater, those things can wait because they're not that pressing right now.
How do you make sure that there isn't a malevolence that flows into a security vacuum or a societal vacuum as there is at the moment? The country's in turmoil. How do you make sure that you maintain a level of stability and that the forces that you want to defeat don't come in and take over certain areas?
Look at the response that people have shown. I think the nation is united today. I have met the Pakistani community in the different countries that I've just visited, living outside Pakistan. The divisions that I saw earlier on are not there. I think the initial cribbing and criticism is subsiding, and the realization that we have to unify to deal with this challenge is on the rise.
What divisions did you see to start with?
Well, we are a political country, we are a democracy, and in democracy you have different opinions and you have different political parties and you have different views, right? But here on this flood situation, there was just one view, that we all have to pool in our resources to help the people of Pakistan.
But one of the problems after a disaster such as this, or when a society is deprived, is that some forces can come in and say, look, we can offer you this. We can offer you education, we can offer you food, we can make sure that you don't have problems with local criminals. They can come in.
Like what forces?
Well, I'm talking about in Pakistan, perhaps the Taliban would want to do this.
The Taliban has lost complete credibility in Pakistan for the activities that they have been undertaking. You know, innocent people that they've been killing. Do you think people would entertain them? Do you think people will buy their point of view? People are sick and tired of them.
Yeah, but if people didn't want...
the tribal belt are no longer
then they would have no support at all, but they do have support, otherwise they wouldn't be able to carry out these attacks.
Question is, you don't need mass support to carry out a terrorist activity. You can have a bunch of people kill a lot of people, but the overwhelming majority of people have rejected them. That was demonstrated in the 2008 elections, that parties that were sympathetic to them were voted out, and it has been repeatedly shown, even in the latest opinion polls, that the people of Pakistan are not supportive of what they stand for. They don't believe in education, they don't believe in women empowerment, they don't believe in democracy. You know, they have a different set of principles which the people of Pakistan do not subscribe to.
Foreign Minister, for now, thank you very much indeed. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Welcome back. You're watching Talk to Al Jazeera. David Foster here with the Foreign Minister of Pakistan, Shah Mehmood Qureshi. Good to have you with us on Al Jazeera, sir. We were talking about the difficulties in trying to keep the country stable as it faces one of its worst crises, the floods that are hitting and inundating so much of Pakistan at the moment. Do you think there will be those who try to take advantage of the situation?
Certainly there are elements who would like to take advantage of that. Now it is our responsibility not to let them take advantage, not to create a vacuum so that they can exploit that and take advantage of it. And that is why Pakistan is appealing to the international community to come forward and help us, because we feel that national resources under the circumstances would not be enough, and we require attention, we require international assistance, and we require international attention.
How is it still a major problem with the Taliban and other elements in Pakistan, when at the time of the Kerry-Lugar bill, which was to provide assistance to Pakistan, we're talking about 15, 16 months ago, you said we are well on the way to beating the militants militarily, and yet we still see terrible atrocities like the attack on Wednesday night, the first week of September in Lahore.
Yes. Well, this is a blowback. This is retaliation to successful operations that we've carried out. There were many areas that had been come into their clutches. Those areas have been pulled out of their hands. You know, in Swat, in the tribal belt, we have flushed them out. Many of them have escaped Pakistan, have run away from Pakistan, because they do not consider Pakistan to be a safe haven anymore. So these are our successes, but it's an ongoing fight, and we will have to battle more.
This week again, we've seen the United States, the State Department, putting the Taliban on the most wanted list. It wouldn't have done that a year ago, presumably because it didn't feel it was necessary. Therefore, the security situation with regard to the Taliban must be worse as far as they're concerned.
See, the Tehreek-e-Taliban have now carried out activities which are sort of not just threatening Pakistan, they are trying to go beyond Pakistan, and that is why they've come onto the international radar. Obviously, we are of the view that if more money was invested in Pakistan, in sort of enhancing the capacity of institutions that are combating terrorism in Pakistan, the results would have been far better. Because in Pakistan, institutions do exist and we need to strengthen them, as opposed to Afghanistan, where everything was destroyed because of 3 decades of infighting.
And one way the Americans believe that they can do that is by putting more drones into attack targets in Pakistan, rather than beefing up, let's say, the ISI, which it believes may well have a great deal of corruption in it and may actually be backing some of the militants. Are you pleased to see more drones?
You see, you have to look at the terrain to understand that why it was felt that that technology is important. Because to reach the targeted people on foot was virtually impossible, right? Having said that, let me also add that the confidence of the Americans and people who are working with Pakistan today in government institutions, whether it's the ISI or the Pakistan Army, has grown, because today they have seen how effectively these institutions have delivered.
Give me an example of how that confidence has grown, because last time I spoke to somebody from the State Department, they said it was rock bottom.
No, I disagree. You look at the statements made by their military people, by people who are in charge, who are in contact with them. They recognize the fact that without the ISI, without the Pakistan Army, they wouldn't have made the gains that they have. Look at the people who've been taken out. Look at the people who have been captured. Look at the people who've been apprehended. It could not have happened without the support of the ISI and the Pakistan Army.
But to see American drones being flown over your country and killing Pakistani people, what does that make you feel like?
Well, that is why we've been talking to them, and that is why we've been negotiating with them to give us the technology so that we can use them and the issue of sovereignty doesn't come into play.
Would you be prepared to say to the Americans, because it is such a sensitive issue, if you want drones flown over our territory, we have to fly them, they have to be our drones, you, the Americans, can no longer do this?
We are talking on these lines.
Pakistan's geographical position is pretty critical in terms of regional stability. When you see troop drawdowns in Iraq, when you hear talk of handing over security in Afghanistan to the Afghan security forces, within a matter of a year to 18 months, many of them will be gone. Where does that leave you? How do you feel about that?
First of all, they've qualified their strategy of withdrawal and they've linked it to ground realities. That's number one. Number two, we do not expect the Americans to be there forever. But we have to be there forever. We are neighbors of Afghanistan and we'll always have common borders. So we have to develop relations regardless of what, if there is international presence in Afghanistan or not. Secondly, the American relationship with Pakistan is much deeper than that. It is not Afghanistan specific. That is why the strategic dialogue that we're having is talking not just about security and counterterrorism. It is talking about health and education and water and energy. So it's a different relationship. It's a long-term partnership that we are building. I think the Americans realize that Pakistan is an important ally. Pakistan is strategically well located. Pakistan is a democracy. They have invested in Pakistan over the last 6 decades. Pakistan has stood by them. Pakistan has delivered to them, and Pakistan is a very useful ally.
In that case, why would the British Prime Minister, David Cameron, turn around probably less than 2 months ago and say Pakistan is exporting terror? If the world understands your situation and you're doing such a good job, why would somebody in a senior position such as David Cameron say something like
think that statement was not a sort of a policy statement of the UK government. Yes, he said it in an interview, and I think they've qualified that.
He repeated it, actually.
They have repeated it, and they have qualified it. And after the meeting that the president had with him, I think his understanding has grown. He's new in the job, and I think the more interaction we have with him, he will understand the challenges Pakistan is facing. And do not forget that there were voices within England that were raised from within the parliament, people, responsible people who were dealing with the situation, and they said, wait a minute, you're not entirely correct.
You think it was a naive statement then?
I would say he was new in the job.
Is it at all feasible that Pakistan in any way, by the way it's handled itself over the last 10 years, has not actively discouraged the militants if it hasn't actively exported terrorism?
First of all, do accept the fact that these militants that we are fighting today are not a Pakistani creation. The world contributed and built this monster that we are trying to undo today. Religion was used as an ideology to push the Soviets out. And then they left in such a hurry that there was no exit strategy. They didn't think through the consequences, by creating that vacuum. Today, those people who know nothing else but fighting, have no jobs, have no alternatives, what do? They fight and they kill innocent people. Today, I think the realization is creeping in that we will have to sit together and undo this menace. And that is exactly what we are doing.
Foreign Minister Qureshi, thank you very much for joining us here on Talk to Al Jazeera.